Well, carrying on with this year's gardening theme, which seems to be mostly from the Paradise Lot book that I read a few weeks ago, I'm planning to sheet mulch this area, part of what I guess passes for a lawn out here next to the cabin and the hoop house. Don't have to do much mowing in this area. It's almost all moss, very little grass mixed in with the moss, and so that means that it's a very acidic soil. And in their book they recommended anyway to put lime down first before you put your plywood, right, before you put your cardboard, and then whatever you're going to mulch on top. So I'm going to put down quite a bit of lime. This is a 30-pound bag of what they're calling quick-acting lime, tiny little pellets. I've seen larger pellets that you use on lawns, but anyway, I'm really going to do it quite thickly. I may indeed use the entire 30-pound bag here. By the time that the cardboard disintegrates and the compost that I'm putting on top, which by the way is going to be all of the barn dressing out of the chicken coop. Finally enough snow has melted that I can clean out the coop and get a wheelbarrow out here. The coop hasn't been cleaned out for 5 months now, so there's a great accumulation of manure and layers of wood shavings and sawdust. I buy that by the bale and just keep adding it through the winter to keep the floor clean and something for them to scratch in, but it's all accumulated. There's probably 8 to 10 inches of it in some places inside the coop, so I think that will cover quite a bit of cardboard that I'm going to put down in this area, and late summer or early fall I should be able to maybe plant some of the things like the goji berries and that sort of thing that I've got started. I've also got, I think it's 3 different kinds of cherries arriving. They're sort of a shrub cherry, not a tall cherry tree, and not a sweet cherry like Bing. They're more a pie cherry, a little on the sour side. But they only grow 7 or 8 feet tall, something I've never heard of before, and I'm sure when they arrive they'll be about 1 foot tall. So I think I'll probably put those along the northern edge over here. And that way when the sun passes here, this is the southern side, that it won't shade them as they grow, but also if I put them along the edge of this, they will get nutrients from the compost and whatever that I'm using here. So you don't have to watch me, I guess, distribute a 30-pound bag of lime. I'll shut this down, and tomorrow if I get out here with the sheet mulching, I'll start it back up again. Well, I'd like to be able to say that I knew all that cardboard would come in handy sometime. I didn't really. That's about half, or maybe even less than half, of my stock of cardboard boxes that are in one corner of my basement, an area that used to be a dog kennel when I had a dog many years ago. Whenever something arrives in a big box, or I buy something, it's in a big box, I throw it in there because I keep thinking something will go wrong with that and I'll want the original packaging to return it in. Well, I've had good luck with a lot of things that I bought because an awful lot of boxes. Later on, when I clean out the coop, probably midsummer, and I'll clean it out again before winter, late fall, I'll be able to use it all because there's a couple of other areas that I would like to sheet mulch. I just measured that. That's roughly 13 feet square, 13 and a few inches in both directions. So that's a pretty good size area. And I did use the entire 30 pounds of quick-acting limestone on it. It was such an acidic area with nothing but moss growing. So by the time the cardboard mulches and the manure and bedding I put on top of it compost down, it'll probably be at least a little bit sweeter. So on a remarkable morning on Campobello. Cloudy. We're supposed to maybe get some rain showers later in the day and rain tomorrow, but there isn't a gale force wind, and I'm not chasing this all over the property, which I thought is what I would be doing, trying to figure out a way of weighing it down until I get the manure on it. So I'm just about to start cleaning out the chicken coop. I'll show you what this looks like when I finish. Started with good intentions. I was going to count how many wheelbarrow loads it took to clean out the coop and cover all this cardboard, but I lost track somewhere along the line. I would say somewhere between 15 and 20 of this size wheelbarrow full. and completely covered all that cardboard that you saw earlier. I don't know, probably 4 or 5 inches deep in most places, and probably a little deeper than that in others. Anyway, I look forward to seeing what happens after this has had a chance to compost and I get a chance to plant in it late summer or early fall. And the hens are appreciating the nice clean coop with new shavings on the floor. So another job well done. We didn't get the rain. Actually, the sun is sort of coming out now. We're supposed to get showers, I guess, this evening, and then rain tomorrow, so that will be good. It'll wet this down so it won't blow away if we get a lot of wind. Hopefully that's an angle and light enough that you can see what I'm trying to point out here. But this is the Mason bee house. Today is the 21st, Easter Monday, I guess. A few days ago, like a week ago, none of the cells had opened. And I've got a little twig here to point out some of the ones that have opened. One there, 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 and there. The little creatures have come out of there. I haven't seen them flying around, but they're around here somewhere. From what I understand is they come out in layers, sort of. The first one to emerge, the last one that was egg was laid in the cell here. The first one to emerge is the male. And the male digs his way out and waits for the females to hatch. So I don't know if they've all come out yet or if that's just where the males have come out and the females will come out later. Some of the other tubes were done by leaf cutter bees. This one here, for example, this one still has a leaf in it. And somewhere here I was looking at one that was covered over at the entrance with a leaf, and so some of the leaf cutter bees have come out too. Anyway, I'm glad to see anyway that my solitary bees survived the winter along with me. So soon hopefully you'll see them building more nests in the other tubes, and I suppose once I'm sure they're all out I should probably try to clean out each one of those tubes. Gotta be careful though that somebody hasn't started to lay eggs in there, I guess. But anyway, it's a little look at my Mason bee house, and I'm considering getting a second one. I saw another one, same company that I bought this from, a larger one that I like the design of it, so no doubt I'll have another one before the summer's out. Well, my order of potting mix that I use for containers, some flowers, and other than that this year it'll be my some of the tomatoes, probably all of the tomatoes, and certainly the peppers will all be grown in smart bags. And my potatoes, I hope maybe today or tomorrow to get my Cara potatoes planted. They've chitted nicely, Brendan, and I want to get them in the ground. Last year this is what I grew them in. There's fancier packaging this year, but it has the same product number, and the man at the store that brought this in for me tells me it's the same product. They've just upgraded the packaging. Well, when I emptied out my bag of Caras last summer, last fall, an amazing harvest for one little potato. I forget what the weight was, but an excellent harvest from one little seed potato. But there was a lot of potatoes that had some scab on them, which doesn't harm them as far as eating them or storing them. They don't spoil or anything. It's just not very attractive. And that usually happens because you've forgotten used lime in the soil. Potatoes like an acidic soil. So after I got these bags home yesterday, I was reading everything I could read on them, trying to find out what the pH level. It tells you what they've got in it for a little bit of fertilizer. The numbers are, if you can't see that, it's 0.09, 0.06, and 0.1. A little bit of fertilizer, and there is a wetting agent in there and a lot of perlite, which I like. It keeps the soil mix quite light. But I couldn't see anything that said pH. And then finally I read in the small print, it also contains dolomitic lime. So that's why my potatoes were scabby last year and why they're going to have some scab on them this year, I imagine. Next year I've got to remember to buy something different to plant the potatoes in. But anyway, hopefully we'll get a good harvest of them, whether they've got a little scab or not. I'm not sure how far back it was. I just tried to find the video, and I can't locate which video I put this in. But if you remember, I took some cuttings, 4 little cuttings, one from each of my black currant bushes in the garden, and I put them in some moist soil and then put the container that they're in a plastic bag and put it on a north-facing window in my, well, marginally heated basement. Well, as you can see, it's leaving out. I haven't tapped it out of there to see if it's actually grown roots. If it has, they're very small. I'm going to let it continue to grow for a while, but I've decided to open up the bag, and I'll just put it in front of a brighter window here in the living room. But it looks like I might get 4 little seedlings out of this. That will be good. I'll plant them in the new area that I'm starting for my perennial fruit and vegetable garden area, the area that I just mulched, sheet mulched. So anyway, they are looking good so far. And actually, I'm just looking closer here, right there. Those are blossom buds. Well, I guess the ones out in the garden are going to bloom anyway. These cuttings even have blossoms on it. I'll have to cut those off. I don't think I want them to bloom. I want them to put their energy into roots. Well, I think this is the final tray of things that I will be starting under lights, at least until, well, sometime in July. I'll start my brassicas under lights in July. I found that if I plant my brassicas in the hoophouse in August, I get a really good fall crop out of them, and the cabbage moth doesn't find them. At least not very many cabbage moths get in the hoophouse, so I'm saving all of my brassicas to plant for a fall crop. On the far left there is lemon coriander, cilantro, which is lemon flavored. The first 3, the lemon coriander and the 2 things next to it, were given to me by Rob, the old gardener guy in Finland. I do not like cilantro, coriander. Well, I don't mind coriander, which is the seed, but cilantro isn't one of the flavors that I can tolerate. However, this is lemon flavored, and I'm very anxious to try it to see if I finally found a cilantro that I like and will be able to use. And next to it is basil, red Petra, or Petra red, and next to that 48 is lime basil. Those 2 are also from Rob. And the smudged number on the final one there is number 15, which is Vessie's Basil Blend. You never know what you're going to get. It's a blend of all different kinds of basil plants. So I've planted 10 cells of each of those. And I think that will, as I say, conclude the planting under lights here. Just about to go out to the hoophouse and finish off this video with a couple of items to show you. I'll lower the lights down on that, and most of that stuff usually germinates quite quickly, so my next update will probably be a look at how these things are doing. Well, I've brought my artichoke, which I guess is now plural, artichokes, outside in one pot, but there are clearly 3 different plants there. I'm hoping when I knock it out of this pot it'll be easy to separate. I'll put the larger one back in the pot with fresh soil and repot the other 2 into the matching pot there. I didn't do anything this winter. Occasionally put a little bit of water on them because it's a tap root and I didn't want it to dry out. But late winter, this new foliage started coming up. It's very pale green because I didn't give it any extra light or anything. But we will see what it looks like. I guess I didn't do it any damage. No fault of my own. Well, I managed to break off the largest one. I've got 2 left, and there are other small ones coming up. I've tried hand separating this, and it doesn't want to separate. Perhaps you can take a knife and just cut it and it would be okay, but I'm not going to risk it. I don't want to completely kill the thing. I'd like to get an artichoke or 2, so I'm going to pot it on, and I will show you what it looks like after I get it potted up. Well, there it is potted. I don't think the one that I broke off will re-sprout, but there are some other small ones that were down below soil level that are starting to sprout, so I think it'll still be plenty big enough for that pot. I probably could have taken the knife and cut it into 2 pieces, but I really want the thing to grow, and I was scared I would kill it, so I didn't do that. The only thing it's planted in is that potting mix, the same as I showed you in those 80-liter bags. And I added some blood and bone meals. I can't get blood and bone, at least I can't find it in one mix here. I buy one of each, one of blood meal and one of bone meal. I put a handful of both about halfway down there and mixed it in, so hopefully we'll have artichokes this summer. Well, both of the fig trees are definitely alive. The little figs that are on them are still, well, less than 1/4 of an inch probably, but they've grown over the past week. This particular one, to the left-hand side of the door as you enter, has started to produce its first leaves. That's the only bud that's actually got a leaf open on it, but several of the other buds are bursting open, so the figs made it through the winter. Let's hope they make it through the summer and I get some figs out of it. Well, the Cara potatoes have chitted, and I'm just about to plant them. There are only 8. That's all I could force myself to save, and they all came through the winter quite nicely. What I'm going to do for an experiment for my own benefit here, I'm going to plant 4 of them in the smart pots, which are on the right there, and 4 of them in plastic grow bags. The one that I grew last year I had great success with, and it was grown in a smart pot. I don't know if that had anything to do with the success rate or not. Smart pots do what they call air pruning. When roots approach the material at the edges of the pot, they retract because they think they've found the surface, there's air there. And I don't know if that had a good effect on them or not, but I'm going to find out. And I'm doing basically what Brendan did. I won't make you watch me plant a potato here. I'm putting about 1/4 of the bag full of soil and putting the potato down in it. And prior to doing that, I'm mixing in a little blood and bone. That's the only thing that I'm adding other than this potting mix that I use. And then I'll cover that potato up, and as it grows sprouts and continues to grow, I will cover it, keep covering it until it reaches the top. And they're in the hoop house here, but this is just a temporary location. Sometime mid-May or so, when the danger of frost is over, I'll move them out into the garden. But to get them started early, they're in here. Well, thank you very much for watching this rather lengthy video. I plant my Cara potatoes now, and that's the end of this one. Talk to you later.